Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. Today we're going to take a look at a very interesting group, the Medical Women International Association, and see what they're doing to promote health and well-being around the world and at the United Nations. My guest today is an expert in this area. Dr. Padmini Murthy is the Secretary General of the Medical Women International Association to the United Nations. Dr. Murthy has served as a consultant to the UN and is on the faculty at New York Medical College as Director of Global Health, and she's a full professor. Dr. Murthy, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to talk to you. And especially now, I think it's so important that you decided to invite me to talk about the work we women physicians are doing. Because in September, as you know, General Assembly, there was the big high-level debate on the universal health coverage. So I think this is really important.
It's very timely.
Yes,
very
absolutely.
Timely. Yeah. I appreciate you being back. We did this about 5 years ago.
Yes, we did.
Given all that's going on in the health field, we could probably do it every 5 weeks. So there's a lot to catch up on. But let's jump right into it. What is the Medical Women International Association? When was it formed? Why was it formed? What's its major mission?
So I think as Americans, we can be very proud because it was an American woman who started this with her other colleagues 100 years ago. Actually, we just celebrated our 100th anniversary in July, and we had a great program in the United Nations. Thanks to some of the missions who sponsored us, and also one of the UN departments. And one of the things is this was started basically to advocate for women and women's health. You know, it's not that I'm saying I'm not decrying men. I've been married to one for too long. But what I'm trying to say is, and I really enjoy working with my men colleagues such as you, but unfortunately, women have been at the end of the receiving stick, especially with regard to access to health care. So we were founded 100 years ago, and as I said, as an American, it's really a matter of pride, for us that we founded this organization. This is an NGO of women doctor associations all over the world. We have members from almost 40 countries, and every 3 years we meet to have a congress. And the last one was the centenary, which was held here in July 2019. So it's full circle. It was started actually in Waldorf Astoria, the building which is now the Waldorf Astoria, and then it's come
hotel.
back. Yes, it's come back a full circle. So we are a global NGO, and our focus is working on health of communities, but more so health of women and the girl child.
And our viewers can go to your website at www.mwia.net to get more information about what we're talking about. You mentioned 100 years. That brings to mind that was just about the conclusion of World War I. Was there any linkage between the Versailles Treaty, the end of World War I, and the creation of this group?
Yes, it was because to make sure that, because people were displaced, as you know, any war, there's a displacement. And that's why to ensure also there is peace. See, it had a two-sided purpose. It was to promote peace among nations, even warring nations during the First World War, and also to showcase women can do it, and also to work to improve the health and well-being. So it's really a twofold purpose because it was started in peace and harmony.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about some of the Sustainable Development Goals. We've been hearing a lot about the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 logical, practical, achievable goals that are really run from 2016 to 2030 to eliminate poverty, to empower women, to promote health and well-being and that type of thing. And I'm sure all 17 are important to you, but there are probably 2 or 3 that are extremely important given you're in the health field. Why don't we talk about those 3 or so, and talk about any program that you may have going or your interaction with UN agencies or other non-governmental organizations that would be of interest.
Thank you, Bill. I think that's a great question because one of the things which is important to me personally and to the NGOs, I'm affiliated with the American Medical Women's Association. Please note, we are not the American Medical Association. We are the American Medical Women's Association, and we have been around for 103 years. So definitely SDG 3 matters to us, as did MDGs 4 and 5. But coming to the SDG 3, because it's health for all at all ages. And I think the other goal which matters is goal 5, which is you're talking about empowerment of women, because it's just not empowerment of women, it is empowerment of communities. And we need to work in gender harmony. That's the term which I think really fits going forward as how we promote SDG 3 for all and SDG 5. And one of the programs, signature programs of our NGO, that's American Medical Women's Association, I would like to mention is PATH. PATH, that is the Physicians Against Trafficking of Humans, which is really important. As you know, there's such a high prevalence of human trafficking, especially women and girls. So what we have, the signature program, you can go onto our website, it's www.amwa.org. That's amwa.org, and you can see what we do for PATH, and you can use these materials, they're free to use. So one of the things, like myself and my colleagues, we go to emergency rooms. A lot of us don't realize it, but often this is the first portal where somebody can encounter a victim of trafficking. So we just talk to them about what are the simple red flags you could identify, because ER, it's a triage, like you are so busy, but even then, if somebody knows, especially the younger residents, they see, for example, if there are weird tattoos like daddy's little girl or some numbers on a young girl, so that really can set a red flag going. And also incessantly texting. I mean, we all text, but it's like she's always texting, she's scared, and then she's not allowed to speak. So these are some of the red flags. So I think this is important because we are looking at the health for all ages. And often trafficked victims, senior citizens, people with special needs are left out of the mainstream, Bill. So I think it's really important that we have these kind of programs where we are looking to pull people back into the mainstream, and how can we help them. So this is something which I think we are really proud about. And also we are talking about other issues like how we address obesity, hypertension. And from Medical Women's International, we have brought out a gender mainstreaming manual where we talk about violence against women. So these are some of the projects which are really helping to promote SDGs. And we have worked with UN agencies, organized programs, and then participated in workshops. We always participate in the CSW. We work with other NGOs. So that's what we are trying to do.
Commission on the Status of Women.
Yes,
very
which is
important
coming up.
Organization in March.
Yes,
Very
and Beijing plus 25 is the theme
that's
this
right.
year.
Yes, it is. It's been 25
yes.
short years ago.
Yes,
It's very true.
Where women's rights are human rights. Right?
Exactly, that's right. This health and well-being for all is very, very important. And you were mentioning, years ago when we were talking about these issues, we were talking about nuclear proliferation, we were talking about a variety of things, but the key issues today that we seem to be talking about, first is climate change, because it is affecting everybody on the planet. Secondly, we're looking at empowering women, which is very important, as you've mentioned. Also, human trafficking now is part of the mix, and income inequality. It seems those four are dominating, and they lead into so many other areas. Economic development. You were talking about human trafficking. Do you normally rely, now you're physicians, you go into hospitals, you're based with hospitals, I guess, in most cases, but do you normally find that some of the hospital personnel help you identify the victims of human trafficking? You help identify them. It's a coordinated effort. You work together on that?
Yeah, it is kind of a coordinated effort, and actually we have some of our colleagues who've even gone to the Capitol Hill to testify, at Congress. So it's double-sided. It's the way you educate the providers there to pick on these subtle signs without my sounding repetitive, and also for them to let you know. And as you know, there's so many mechanisms, and we have so many hotlines where you can call, so we make people aware of that. So the crucial thing, Bill, for us as physicians is to enable and educate our healthcare providers to identify a victim of trafficking, because you want to avoid them falling through the net.
Most assuredly, that's
yes,
absolutely
that's
critical.
So it's like
yes.
it's like one person can't dance. I mean, it's okay, you can dance, but two people waltz together.
That's right.
So it's a coordinated effort.
Well, let's talk about the health and well-being, and just take an example. I guess you network with the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, the World Health Organization.
Yeah, we do.
A variety of different programs. What type, or an example of a program you've put on with the UN agency to focus attention on this problem and to help achieve that sustainable development goal of, well, health and well-being for everyone around the whole planet?
Yeah, thank you. More than the UNICEF, we are in official relations with the World Health Organization. We do attend the World Health Assembly. We have been attending for almost 25 years, and also the regional meetings at, the World Health Organization has regional meetings in its various areas, and members go to attend that. And just now, one of our colleagues is going to Brussels on Monday to talk about gender medicine in the European Union, in the parliament there in Brussels, as you know, because Brussels. So not only, see, this is the unique part that, yes, we are physicians, yes, we are an apolitical organization, but we are invited to speak because of the expertise at these various issues and contribute about health matters. Now, you brought up a very important point about global warming. One thing I would like to tell you and your viewers that we need to be aware that for every 1 to 2 degree increase in temperature, we have so many more cases of malaria, because global warming is related to these diseases. And as we know, malaria is a major challenge. So these are some of the things we try to go around. You tell your students, you tell other people that, hey, we need to talk about it. Like I always tell my students, you need to have a 1-minute elevator pitch. What do you do to promote SDG 3 or to address global warming? So these are some things we are looking into. We use Twitter, instead of talking about some Hollywood star or some celebrity, you talk about what can be done. You're tweeting, you're sharing what is happening. I don't know if you know, this is something horrific. This young veterinarian doctor in India, last week, was gang raped and murdered. So this is violence against women. So we are just talking as what do you do? How do you have safety mechanisms? Because obviously the safety mechanisms failed her.
They certainly did. Yes, they certainly did.
So, and also the young girl in Kenya, I'm sure you heard about that. Unfortunately, she did not have, she got her first period in school. She was shamed by the teacher. She went and committed suicide. So when we are talking about SDG 3, we should not shy away from talking about a menstrual period for a young girl. And this is what we need to promote. How do we make sure these girls have access to what they need? Coming to that, some of the medical students, including mine, work on Days for Girls, where they're trying to promote recyclable sanitary pads for girls to use. So this is something I want to bring about, because I don't think in this day and age we should shy away about talking about normal physiological processes.
Well, you're watching Global Connections Television, which is a privately funded, independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections Television are solely those of the moderator and his guest. We'd invite our viewers to go to our website at www.globalconnectionstelevision.com to view previous programs. Also, if you're involved with a PBS or community access television station, or perhaps an educational institution that has an intra-campus television hookup, or you just have a computer, you have a website, you like our shows, please feel free to share them. Global Connections Television is provided at no cost as a public service to help us better understand international issues and how they impact our lives. Today we're taking a look at Sustainable Development Goal number 3, to promote health and well-being, and looking at a variety of related issues. My guest is Dr. Minnie Murthy. Dr. Minnie Murthy is the Secretary General of the Medical Women International Association to the United Nations. You've opened a whole new door here, and I'm glad you did, because you're taking more of a comprehensive macro approach to dealing with. It's not just isolated in their silo type of approaches. You're talking about some of the challenges to young women when they're going to school, when they're talking about their menstrual period and that type of thing. But you look at the whole person. Do you also get into other areas that may be culturally sensitive, like child marriage? Many young women are forced into that, or is that maybe for somebody else's area? But I'm sure it comes into play when you're dealing with folks, especially in certain areas of the United States and in developing countries.
Thank you, Bill. Actually, my principle personally is, I try to be culturally sensitive. I mean, you don't go and tell somebody, like my late father used to say, with a drop of honey, you can get more bees than putting a liter of vinegar. And, that wisdom keeps coming back to me, because it's like you talk to them and you need to tell them, it's not only, and I'm sharing my secret on TV, it's just not, my mantra is, it's just not only going to help the girls, it's going to help the whole community. So yes, child marriage, the reason is because you don't want a girl to become a mother before she's fully, her body is right for it. I'm not decrying somebody's cultural practice, but we are trying to make them understand by delaying the age of marriage and delaying the first age where a teenager gets pregnant is good for the whole community, because you have decreased infant mortality and morbidity, decreased maternal mortality and morbidity, because one of the things, Bill, there is no cure for maternal death, but it is preventable. So I think when we talk to people, we need to not go there with this attitude to say that I know what I'm saying is right and what you have is incorrect. Work with the local people. This is what I have found, local partners, and cultural sensitivity. We need to be very sensitive. We all come from different cultures, but the whole point is we work together for the common good. So if that is explained, I have found in my experience that people listen to you. It's the approach you take. You have this great TV show. It's the communication. I don't have to tell you that. You're a journalist. But I think I use the synonym KIS, keep it simple.
Right.
So even in a health message, like when you're talking about behavioral change, you need to make them understand the benefit of it. And if it's for the community, you show them that it benefits the whole community, they will walk with you instead of against you.
They certainly will, yes. Well, when you look at the empowering of women, study after study shows that the better educated women are, young girls are, that the better the family's going to do, the community does. They make a tremendous contribution. What are other suggestions that we could take to heart or we could possibly incorporate into our own lives to help empower women so that they can reach their self-actualization and to move out of a second-class status in many areas of the world?
I think, oh boy, that's such a complicated
It's a
question.
tough
No,
one.
but
It is.
answering it as the best I can in the time we have. I think one of the things is to encourage women. See, I have found, like when we're talking about violence against women, it's just not physical violence. It's also if somebody tells me every day I'm stupid, after 10 days, I'll really believe I'm stupid. So I think it's the way we communicate. And also, one of the things I always tell my medical students, and what I have found when I was practicing medicine, is show empathy. Make contact with the, your patient. They're just not numbers. They're people like you. When you're talking to them, make sure you talk to them, look them in the eye and say, what is your problem? So this is, I think, very important, like empathy and making men understand. I used the term gender harmony a few minutes ago. We need to make very clear here, it's not a battle of the sexes. It's not superiority of one sex over the other, gender, but it is working together for the betterment of society. And again, as I said, yes, some people have these stereotypical roles, but let me tell you, I was in Kenya for the ICPD 25. I just came back.
International Conference on Population and
Yes.
Development. Okay.
Again, it's full circle. Remember, it was in Cairo, and then the 25 was in Kenya. One of the things I found, I was just looking, and my daughter was with me, which is really great as a youth. There were so many young women who were so enthusiastic, and I'm thinking, you people have so much of an opportunity. They're coming up with apps to talk about, health issues. And it's just not focusing on only reproductive health. It's just the whole health and well-being. looking at the social determinants. So I think women are far more empowered than we realize, but we have to stand by them. By we, I mean the men. So I think you are empowering women by having the show, by having guests from varied, disciplines and fields come and talk to you. So I think using social media is a great way of empowering women and saying we are there, but we cannot, rest on our success. We have a long way to go, but I think slowly but surely, hopefully we are getting there. That's why we have the UN agencies, we have the governments, the state, the member states, we have the NGOs, and we have academia to work together, the think tanks, foundations. So I think this is a coordinated effort.
Exactly. You mentioned back a few minutes ago about the media, but you also mentioned academia. How important is it that academia and the media focus on these 17 Sustainable Development Goals and talk to the literally tens of thousands of non-governmental organizations that are out there? Lions International, Rotary International, your group, I could go through the whole list, but how important is it to focus on what they're doing to achieve these goals to help create this better world by 2030? Because we're down to about 11 years now, which doesn't give us a lot of time, but I'm not saying the two have to collaborate, but how important is it both of them do this to help us become aware of them?
I think you brought up something, the Department of Global Communications. It used to be called the Department of Public Information.
Within the United
Yeah,
Nations.
within the United Nations,
Right.
has the NGO conference, which was just held at Utah, Salt Lake City. It was really a great conference because people, even though there were only maybe one or two goals discussed, but the discussion was focusing on almost all the goals. And so many people who came to that. There were people from so many countries. I think there were almost 5,000, give or take, attendees from many countries. And it was so nice. And the youth to talk and exchange ideas. So this is what you people in media, I am, congratulating all of you for opening the doors, because it's really, you've made the world kind of seamless, if I may use the term, because there are no geographical borders in connecting with each other. So they're tweeting Facebook. I mean, they're not paying me to talk about it, but I'm just saying Facebook, because look at Facebook, how people post, this is happening there, that is happening here, or Twitter, or WhatsApp, or, all these different programs you have. So I think the communication has become so crucial for telling somebody else. Like, I know some of the youth, including my daughter, they are in these programs called Sustainable Development for Schools. So it's a global program they have where they're going around talking to school kids about the importance of SDGs. So they go home and tell their parents, you see? So this is what is happening. It's like a ripple effect, Bill. If you throw a stone into a pond and watch it, it spreads. I think that's what is happening now.
It's going to spread out, and the media.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. You're right there.
I'm being optimistic,
I know.
cautiously optimistic.
And I really believe that the media finally has awakened to the fact that climate change is no longer just a theory. It is a crisis, and it is happening much faster than we ever thought. And they're finally getting on board to help educate people in the United States and around the world, and young people too, learn about climate change in their schools. They come home, talk to their parents, some of whom are climate change deniers, but that's another story. But let's shift here for a moment to the toughest question. It is the toughest, the last one. What do you perceive as your major challenge as you move forward in the area that you're working? In the last minute that we have, naturally the hardest for the last minute.
Okay, so I believe in women's health, especially safe motherhood. I think the hardest thing is to educate women, make them aware of what they have. And the biggest challenge we have is lack of access and funding. Bill, it all comes down to, I mean, you can only do this much. But if I think more than funding, I would say the allocation of funds to benefit those who really need it. I think if you ask anybody, and my personal tough challenge would be to convert people to say that, hey, you can give up $5 and make a difference. We have the holiday time. So the last thing is, you don't have to spend money. We all go to hotels, pick up soaps, pick up shampoos. There's so many people in our own country who don't have access to these. Soap for Hope. Just pick it up, go to your local church, local temple, or, and drop them off. So this is something we need to do. My biggest challenge is to make people aware of how they can all become game changers. And that's why we are all here.
That's right, yes.
That's the biggest
Awareness
challenge.
and education are absolutely critical. And of course, the Medical Women International Association is certainly doing that in conjunction with UN agencies and other non-governmental organizations. And you are making a difference in the world, and this is an effort that we have to undertake together. We can't do it individually. No one country, no one area of the world can defeat climate change, can defeat human trafficking. We could go across the board, but Dr. Minnie Murthy, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting and a very informative program.
To you
Same
and
to
your
you.
viewers. Thank you so much.
I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us today on Global Connections Television.